Welcome to the Deep Dive. Today, we're getting into something pretty pervasive in Kenyan society, gambling.
Yeah, it really is.
You've almost certainly seen the ads, or heard people talking about it.
Yeah.
Maybe you've even placed a bet yourself. It's kind of hard to avoid.
Absolutely. And our goal today isn't just to say, oh, look, it exists. We want to really dig deeper.
Okay.
We're talking about why it surged so much, the industry that's pushing it, the real costs to society, which often get overlooked.
Right, the hidden stuff.
Exactly. And especially how it's hitting young people, what the government's trying to do, and maybe, just maybe, some ways forward.
And the variety now is just staggering, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's not just one thing. You've got sports betting, like huge matches. Gor Mahia versus AFC Leopards.
Emphatic example.
And you see people on their phones, maybe in a matatu, playing mobile slot games. Plus, you still have the casinos, the lotteries.
It's everywhere. And what's really striking, I think, is the shift in who's participating. It used to be maybe older guys, specific places.
Yeah, I remember that perception.
But now it's widespread. All ages, all over the country. And worryingly, a lot of young Kenyans involved.
So that's our mission for this deep dive, really.
Right.
To give you a clear, a comprehensive picture of this whole complex issue, more than just the headlines.
Let's start with just how big this has become, the growth rate.
It feels like it exploded almost overnight, but it's been building, right? Especially this last decade.
Oh, definitely. Think back to the early 2000s. Gambling wasn't nearly as visible or, well, accepted as it is now. It's a massive shift.
Yeah, now you might see like a 19-year-old just constantly checking odds on their phone. It's just part of their day.
And the numbers back that up. There's data suggesting something like 7 out of 10 young Kenyans have tried gambling. Mostly sports betting. That seems to be the main gateway.
7 out of 10. Wow.
Yeah. And Kenya is now considered one of the top betting nations in Africa. Right up there with Nigeria, South Africa, big market.
And it's not just a Nairobi thing, is it? It's spread far beyond the cities.
Not at all. Thanks to things like M-Pesa, mobile money. It's reached rural areas, too. You'll find people in, say, Kisii or Eldoret, Kitale, placing bets, sometimes really small amounts, 50 bob.
Just hoping for that big win.
Exactly. Which brings us to the next question, really. Why? Why are so many Kenyans gambling? What's the pull?
It can't just be for fun, can it? Not on this scale.
Well, entertainment is a factor, sure. But there are deeper currents. Economic hardship is a big one. Youth unemployment is, what, over 30%?
That high, yeah.
So for some, gambling starts to look like a hustle, a potential way out, even if the odds are stacked against them.
It feeds into that whole hope culture, doesn't it? That one bet could change everything, that quick fix mentality.
Precisely. And social media amplifies that like crazy. You see influencers flashing wins, fancy lifestyles.
But never the losses.
Never the losses. It creates this intense FOMO, this fear of missing out, makes it seem achievable.
Plus, it's just so easy now. The accessibility factor is huge.
Technology changed the game entirely. You don't need to go to a betting shop anymore. Your smartphone, M-Pesa, boom. Instant access, anytime, anywhere.
Dangerously convenient.
And then there's the psychology, the thrill, the near misses that releases dopamine in your brain. It's the same reward pathway involved in other addictions. It gets you hooked.
Okay, so multiple factors pushing this. Economic pressure, hope, peer influence, tech, brain chemistry. Quite the mix.
A perfect storm, really.
So let's talk about the engine driving this whole thing, the industry itself. It's clearly massive business.
Oh, absolutely massive. We're talking multi-billion shillings.
Yeah.
Companies like SportPesa, Batika, Odabets, their daily revenues are enormous.
And they pour a lot of that back into making themselves even more visible, right?
Exactly. Sponsorship is huge. They sponsor major football teams, so their names are everywhere, linked with something people love.
Builds that association, that legitimacy.
Precisely. And the advertising.
Yeah.
Wow.
It's unavoidable.
Yeah.
TV, radio billboards, social media feeds.
You can't escape it. They also hire well-known influencers, musicians, creating this image of betting as glamorous, aspirational part of pop culture.
So it normalizes it, makes it seem like just another form of entertainment, endorsed by celebrity.
Exactly. It's a very sophisticated marketing machine.
Okay, a powerful industry. But let's shift focus now to the consequences. The side we don't see in the flashy ads. What are the hidden costs here?
This is where it gets really concerning. Beyond the hype, there are serious negative impacts. Let's start with the obvious. Financial ruin.
People losing money they can't afford to lose.
Exactly. Rent money, school fees, entire paychecks, gone. Chasing losses. It often starts small, maybe 100 shillings here, 200 there. but it can spiral into crippling addiction very quickly.
And the mental toll must be immense, the stress, the anxiety.
Oh, absolutely. We see huge spikes in anxiety, depression, tragically, even suicidal thoughts, especially when people start borrowing heavily to get into debt they can't repay, the shame, the desperation.
It affects whole families too, doesn't it?
Devastatingly so. Marriages break down over gambling debts and lies. We hear stories of parents selling off essential household assets. Children suffer when parents prioritize betting over their basic needs.
And education gets hit too.
Yeah, that's another casualty. Students using their HELB loans, government student loans, for betting instead of fees or upkeep. Dropout rates increase because gambling becomes the focus, not studying.
That's terrible. And when people get desperate enough after big losses,
It can lead to crime, theft, maybe from employers, sometimes even getting involved in gangs to try and recoup losses or pay off debts. It just fosters this environment of high-risk behavior across the board.
it really sounds like more than just a bad habit. It's something bigger.
Some are calling it a social epidemic. And the tricky part is, unlike maybe alcohol or drug issues, which are more visible sometimes, gambling addiction can be hidden, done quietly on a phone. It still gets passed off as just fun.
Which makes it particularly dangerous for young people, I imagine. You mentioned them earlier. Let's focus on that impact.
It's deeply worrying. There's this emerging mindset among some young people that betting isn't just a gamble, it's a potential career path.
Seriously. A career.
Yeah. You hear things like, why should I hustle at a tough job when I could win 10K in 10 minutes?
But we know those big wins are rare, right?
Yeah.
The reality for most is losing day after day.
Exactly. But that narrative is powerful. And the danger is it kills ambition. It stifles creativity, that entrepreneurial spirit. Why bother building something real, learning a skill, starting a business, when you're chasing that quick, elusive win?
It undermines the whole idea of hard work and long-term goals.
Completely. It's a shortcut that usually leads nowhere good.
Okay, so clearly the government saw this mounting problem. There was that crackdown back in 2019, wasn't there? What exactly did they do?
Yeah, 2019 was significant. The government took some big steps. They revoked licenses for some major players, including SportPesa at the time. They also brought in new taxes on winnings and bets and tried to regulate advertising much more strictly.
But the industry is still very much here. It seems they adapted pretty quickly.
They did. The industry proved remarkably resilient. New companies got licenses. Some operators moved their technical infrastructure, like hosting, offshore to make regulation harder.
Finding loopholes.
Pretty much. And they got smarter with their marketing, finding new ways to reach people despite the tighter rules.
So the Betting Control and Licensing Board, the BCLB, they must have a really tough job on their hands.
Absolutely. Trying to regulate this constantly evolving, often online, sometimes international industry is a massive ongoing challenge for them.
So if regulation has its limits, what else can be done? What can we do as a society? It feels like it needs more than just government action.
Definitely. It has to be a multi-pronged approach. Financial literacy is key. We need much better education, starting young.
In schools.
Schools, yes, but also churches, community groups, teaching practical skills, budgeting, saving, basic investing, understanding risk, real money management, not just hoping for a jackpot.
And talking about the addiction itself,
Yeah.
bringing it out of the shadows.
Crucial. We have to break the stigma. People need to feel safe asking for help, admitting they have a problem without feeling ashamed. Open conversations are vital.
What about the influencers? We mentioned them earlier.
They have a huge responsibility. Given their platform, especially with young followers, they really need to stop glamorizing betting. It's just irresponsible.
Yeah, that makes sense. And parents, mentors.
Big role to play there. Monitoring technology use, yes, but also promoting discipline, hard work, realistic role models, guiding kids away from that get-rich-quick fantasy.
And for individuals already caught up in it or feeling tempted.
Practical steps help. Things like a digital detox, actually deleting the betting apps, setting limits on screen time, find other hobbies, healthier habits.
And if someone is struggling with addiction,
The most important thing is stop betting now and seek help. There are resources available. Talk to someone. And fundamentally, shift your focus. Invest that time, energy, maybe even small amounts of money into building real skills. Coding, design, agriculture, starting a small business. Tangible things.
things that offer a genuine return, not just a long shot.
Exactly. Real investment in yourself and your future.
So wrapping this up, the core message seems to be, gambling sells a dream, this illusion of easy money. But the reality for most people is at least a significant loss. financial, mental, social loss.
That sums it up well. And if we want a stronger future for Kenya, economically sound, mentally healthy, socially stable, we need a big shift in mindset.
Moving away from just relying on chance.
Yeah. Focusing instead on education, on discipline, on real enterprise. That's where the real value lies.
Let's bet on education, discipline, and enterprise, not odds. A powerful thought.
Maybe just take a moment, think about how often you encounter gambling talk or ads in your own day. How might it, even subtly, be shaping how we think about wealth, about success? And what alternative bets, investments in skills, relationships, community could you or people you know be making for a more sustainable, more fulfilling outcome? Something to consider.